Hey everybody, this is Andy with Patterson Adjuster Training. In this video, we're going to see if Xactimate pays more or if Symbility pays more. So if you're an adjuster or a contractor, you've probably heard of Xactimate, obviously. That's been the gold standard for a long time. But you've also probably heard of Symbility. Although a lot of you may not have used Symbility, you have probably heard that Symbility pricing is way off and it doesn't pay nearly enough. Well, I've heard that too, so let's take a look at both of them side by side to see if that rumor is true. First, we're going to take a look at Symbility. We're going to look at some line items specific to drywall. Then we're going to jump over into roofing and look at some line items specific to roofing. After that, we're going to jump into Xactimate, and I'll get the same line items or get the scope to match for the drywall line items and the roofing line items, and we'll take a look and see who pays more. So let's jump into Symbility first. So first off, let's take a look at our price list, or in Symbility it's called the pricing database. And so what I'm doing is I'm acting like this is an April 2024 loss. And so the price list is specific to Tulsa, Oklahoma, April 2024. We're going to use the same month, year, and location when we pull in our price list for Xactimate. So let's jump back over here to our estimate. And I just threw a generic room on here, a 12 by 12 room, 8-foot flat ceiling. And I'm going to add a couple of line items for drywall. So we're going to come down here to drywall. And we're going to add drywall for the ceiling. So we're going to come down here to 1/2 inch. We could put tear out on here and then replace, but in Xactimate they really don't have a tear out option or a remove option. It's all just one option, which is remove. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with remove. And the reason why we're doing that is because if you do tear out, then it says labor to tear out drywall and place debris in a waste container. So that one would probably work, but for our example we're going to use remove because it talks about skillfully removing the drywall. It says labor to skillfully remove drywall and place into a waste container. It reflects reduced labor productivity to limit damage to materials and surrounding. So since we're leaving the walls intact, the right line item to use would be remove, because although you are just tearing out the ceiling, you do have to exercise some sort of care so you don't damage the wall. So we're going to use remove. So I'm going to drop our remove onto the ceiling. That's what the C up here means, ceiling. So I dropped it on there, and notice right here it's 69 cents per square foot. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the replacement. So we're going to select 1/2 inch drywall taped. If we click on that, replace, we're going to drop it on the ceiling. And now I want you to look at something real quick. So it says grade and description, 1/2 inch thick drywall, reflects a 3-step finishing process, tape coat, 2 finish coats, joint compound to feather the joints. Includes the labor, drywall fastener, seam tape, joint compound, 5% waste. Now this is where we need to add something. Adjustment drywall taped level 4 finish. So we're going to add that one because that's going to give us a smooth finish ready for paint. So let's go to the adjustment, which is up here. Click that one, drop it on our ceiling. Now let's come down here to the adjustment, and it says adjustment for labor and materials is to apply an additional separate coat of joint compound over all flat joints, interior angles, and screw and nail heads to bring a level 3 drywall finish to a level 4 drywall finish. A level 4 drywall finish is recommended when a smooth or light texture is required. All joint compounds should be smooth and free of marks and ridges. So this would be our smooth finish ready for paint. Now the other thing is I'm not adding any tax, I'm not adding any overhead and profit, and I'm not adding any labor minimums. So we're turning all of those off. We're strictly just looking at the pricing. So for removal, we're at 69 cents a square foot. For replacement, we're at $2.93 per square foot, and again they're adding 5% waste. And then we have to add this 23 cents per square foot adjustment for the level 4 finish. So we'll add all of that up here in just a second. Okay, so now let's go to our roof plan. So the roof I dropped on here is just a 12 by 12 roof. It's a 412 pitch, and I added tear out of the composition 3-tab shingles. So we're going to go with that. So the removal price on the shingles is $60.68. So I know a lot of contractors are not going to like to hear this, but when you do a tear out on this roof, for example, you're actually scraping off the shingles, the felt paper, the ridge shingles, the starter strip. All of that is included. The good thing about Symbility, it actually spells that out. So it says includes tear out of shingles, starter row, felt, ridge and hip caps, nails. Labor includes additional time to re-nail a small amount of sheeting that has become loosened during the removal process. So if you're a contractor, you wouldn't need to send a supplement for that. Okay, so that is the removal, and that gets this roof back to just bare sheeting. Now we got to replace the synthetic felt. So our unit price is $37.82. And then our shingles, and they're adding a 10% waste. And we're also rounding to the nearest bundle. So our price per square on replacement is $243.80. So let's look at our total estimate right now. So on our drywall for the interior, we're looking at a total cost of $554.40. On the roof, we're looking at a total cost of $539.33 total cost. And let's get rid of that minimum. So we turn the labor minimum off, and so our total cost is $1,093.73. Now we're in Xactimate, and the price list we're using is the same one as we were using in Symbility. We're using Tulsa, Oklahoma, April 2024. So let's take a look at our sketch. So our room and our roof are the same sizes that we had in Symbility. In Symbility, we had a 12 by 12 room with an 8-foot flat ceiling. That's what we have here. So now our roof is a 12 by 12 roof, and it's a 412 pitch. And so now let's take a look at our line items. So here's our 1/2 inch drywall remove for the ceiling, and we're at 44 cents a square foot. And the other line item that I added was 1/2 inch drywall hung, taped, floated, ready for paint. Now that's a smooth finish. Now you could argue that that's not really a smooth finish. There's an option that we can add on here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But if we just strictly add the 1/2 inch drywall hung, taped, floated, ready for paint, and the quality is 1/2 inch drywall hung, taped, and floated to produce a finish that is ready for paint. Here's where we could give some additional money, I think. So it says, for complete skim coat smooth surface texture, see item DRY plus. This item is intended to account for the type of finish, which is the most common simple finish in each market area. Simple and common finishes can vary between regions, between a smooth tape finish and a simple hand or simple spray texture. So basically what we could do is we could add a plus sign to increase our quality. So it takes it from $287 a square foot to $340 a square foot. Now in Symbility, the removal price was 69 cents per square foot. In Xactimate, it's 44 cents. In Symbility, to produce a smooth finish, We added the taped and floated line item, and that was a level 3 finish, and then we added the line item to take it to a level 4 finish, and that brought it up to $3.16 a square foot. So let's just leave it like this, because depending on who's writing the estimate, maybe this is more similar to what Symbility is calling a level 4 finish. In drywall finishing, there's level 1 through 5. Xactimate doesn't use any of those levels, so let's just assume that this is a level 4 finish. Then this part is more money than Symbility. Symbility was paying $3.16 per square foot for the drywall finishing. Xactimate's paying $3.40, but Symbility was paying 69 cents a square foot for the removal. Xactimate's only paying 44. So now let's look at our roof. Here's our tear-off for the 25-year shingles, and our squares are the same, 1.52 squares. Tear-off for Xactimate is $55.42 per square. Symbility for the tear-off was $60.68 per square. So now we're putting this back on. So our replacement, this line item doesn't include felt, because remember, in Symbility we had to add felt separately. So the replacement of the shingles in Xactimate is $216.94 per square. In Symbility, it was $243.80 per square. Now the underlayment for the synthetic felt per square price is $43.43. In Symbility, it was $37.82. Now I will tell you this, I did add 10% waste on our Xactimate estimate because that's what Symbility is adding. Drywall already has waste built in. So the felt, they were adding, I believe, 6% waste. So we could add 6% waste. But now let's look at our total cost. Symbility, our total cost for interior is $554.40. Symbility roof total is $539.33. We have no minimum charges added. We took those off. We don't have any tax or any general contractor's overhead and profit. So our grand total is $1,093.73. So now let's take a look at Xactimate. Let's take a look at our interior. We're at $552.96 total for the interior. And then our roof is $588.04. That gives us a grand total of $1,041. So the final recap on our interior, there was a difference of $1.44 between Symbility and Xactimate. Symbility was paying $1.44 more than Xactimate on the interior. Now on our roof, Xactimate was paying more. They were paying more than Symbility by $48.67. So really, between the two estimating software programs, in this example was only a $47 difference. Xactimate was paying more than Symbility by $47. Now obviously that doesn't include every situation out there or most situations out there. You're not going to have a lot of estimates with just 6 or 7 line items on there. But I've always heard that Symbility doesn't pay anything and their pricing isn't near what it should be. Well, that may be the case in some situations and some losses, but just the drywall line items and the roofing line items that I added, they're actually pretty close. Now I prefer Xactimate over Symbility just because I think Xactimate is the gold standard. I like their estimating program better. I like their support better. I like the flow of the estimate better, and it's probably just because I'm more used to it. But I do like some things about Symbility, like you can build an exterior plan, which is nice for estimating siding. But anyway, I hope you liked the video, and I will see you in the next one.